Welcome to the Goal Achievers Podcast, where we interview the most preeminent business experts, authors, and speakers in their field of expertise and provide you with the specialized knowledge needed to achieve your goals. Now, here is your host, author, founder of Goal Achievers International, and one of the top speakers agents in the industry, serving over 5,000 events and meeting planners worldwide. Please welcome Phil R. Taylor.
Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of the Goal Achievers Podcast. We're so glad that you've taken the time out of your day to invest in yourself. And what better time to talk about goals than at the beginning of the year? And what better person to have on our program than the goal achiever himself, the great champion, Tom Hopkins, who for the past 4 decades has been America's #1 sales trainer. He's trained, believe this, 5 million salespeople. He's presented, I believe now, approximately 5,000 times, if not more, which is incredible, through his keynotes and his one-day seminars. He's published or written 18 books that have sold in the millions. One of my favorite 3 books of all time, How to Master the Art of Selling, has now sold well over 2.4 million at last count, if I'm not mistaken. It might be 2.7, but 2.4 is for sure. And what's interesting is Tom wasn't always successful in sales. He's come from a very humble beginning. And if we go back to his beginnings, he had to learn the skill of selling. And he sat under the tutelage and mentorship of J. Douglas Edwards, who imparted his insights and wisdom and know-how into sales. He internalized that and then became tremendously successful in his sector, selling over 365 houses in 1 year and breaking all sorts of records at the age of 23 and 24. So that's a little background on Tom, but we're going to let it fly. Tom, welcome to the Goal Achievers Podcast. It's great to see you.
Well, I'm thrilled to be, part of this program because goal setting has been one of the main highlights that I've tried to teach, because the average American kind of goes through life where things take them instead of really having a concrete plan to where they're going to go, both in their short-term goals, but all the goals that for long-term success, financial independence, keeping their loved ones together, having their children be raised properly. All these things are part of the goal setting process, which has been one of the main things that I have loved teaching. And I'm so thrilled to be here with you. I know you and I go back many, many years. And it's just fun to share ideas with people, because in my humble belief that the people who seem to achieve most don't get what they're given. They go out and get what they want and need because of a focus. And I love the F word, focus, where they're focused on their short-term goals, their long-term goals, and that's why they become some of the highest income earning people. And of course, they develop, and of all my 18 books, I think almost every book I've tried to commit a part of it to the goal setting process. So I think this is great, Phil. So nice to be visiting with you and your followers, who obviously believe that what you do for them, it makes them better. And then, of course, their goal is to take what you teach and help others be better. Yeah. So what a wonderful way of life.
Yeah, that's tremendous. And Tom, just so much enjoy having you on our program. It's remarkable the things that you have done over the decades, and yet remain so gracious and humble. You really do. And I know that you were on the principle of humility with Ken Blanchard and Al Walker when we did the 17 biblical principles, and that was very fitting. I just so much respect to you, and you bring so much value to the listeners and to myself. So So what formula do you use? You obviously you didn't walk into this accident of achieving 365 houses, selling 365 houses, or writing 18 books, or achieving the success you did by accident. I mean, it wasn't something you just tripped into, was it? Could you share us what the formula was?
Yeah, I'll real quick share. Many people feel you have to have a huge education to become successful.
Yeah.
Well, I disappointed my father because I went to college for 3 months. And after 90 days, I realized the academic setting was not for me. And of course, I came home midterm, told my father. He walked in, he said, "What are you doing home?" I said, "Dad, I'm not going to college." And he said, "Why?" I said, "I just don't feel the academic setting is what I want." And I'd never seen, Phil, never seen my father emotionally get so disturbed where tears actually filled his eyes. And he said, "Son, you are my son, and I'll always love you, even though based on this decision to not get a college education, I know you will never probably amount to anything."
Oh, there you go.
And I think all of us in life have life-changing events, life-changing things that happen.
Yeah.
And I loved my father. And I went in my bedroom that day, sat down on my bed, and I literally said, I I will never probably amount to anything
Wow.
because of what my father said to me.
Mm.
And I'm sitting there in my bed, Phil, so depressed. Like so many people, all of us go through these
Yeah.
periods.
Yeah.
And my Uncle Don, came over for dinner. And of course, I'm sitting there on the bed, and he says, "Tom, tell me you're kidding. Your father says you're not going to college." I said, "Uncle Don, I quit college. That's not for me." And of course, he says, "Well, what are you going to do with your life?" I said, "Uncle Don, I have no idea." He said, "Well, I've been given the contract." He was the general manager of a huge steel company in Los Angeles. And he said, "We've just been given the contract to build the Los Angeles Dodger Stadium,
Mm.
and we need iron workers." Now, most people don't realize this, Phil, but if you
Yeah.
drive over a concrete bridge, you see this beautiful, smooth cement.
Right.
You don't see inside the tons of iron that's necessary. Most people have seen a swimming pool made where they have a bar that might be what we would call a number 4 bar
Uh-huh.
before they pour the concrete. Well,
Yeah.
on a bridge or on Dodger Stadium, the main bar was a number 11 bar, which would
Right.
be about this big,
Yeah.
60 foot in length, 208 pounds.
Wow.
Only way you got them off the truck out of the dirt onto the deck
Yeah.
to be covered with concrete was men like myself. We had to carry them.
Right.
And I was an iron worker because I was the kind of a nephew of the general manager. I was the youngest one on the deck.
Yeah.
They all almost made me carry more steel than anyone. And of course, when I do a seminar, I tease the audience. I go, "Yeah, I was 6'2" when I started. And of course, I'm now 5'7". So what that did to me,
Oh man, it crushed you, Tom. It crushed you.
it crushed me. But I did that for a year. Fortunately, my dad had a friend
Yeah.
that was a successful real estate broker.
Yeah.
And, he basically said, "Tom, you got a nice way with people. Why don't you come to our real estate office and just sit and see what we do on weekends. Because as an iron worker, we worked Monday till Friday. I didn't have Saturday or Sunday to carry steel. So I went and sat in this real estate office.
Yeah.
And a very successful man said, one of the keys to success is to find someone who is very successful.
There you go.
Copy and learn what they do and say. So I've always followed advice. So I went to the company that I worked for, and the real estate company. I said, "Who is the most successful realtor?" And her name was Rose Lane. She was the highest income earning person, not man or woman, person in the real estate business. And I went to her humbly. I said, Mrs. Lane, I'm just a young man. I quit college. I have no education. I'm just turning 19. I've just got my real estate license. I'm scared to death.
Yeah.
Would you mind if I just watched and listened to what you do? She was so gracious, Phil. She said, you can go with me on listing appointments. You can get in the car when I show homes. I'll just introduce you as a trainee. And so back then, I know it sounds terrible, we had no recording devices. This is before cassettes. So, of course, I was an avid note taker. I would sit and listen to her as she would show a home, and she would demonstrate the property. And I'm taking all these notes. And sure enough, I started copying what she said and what she did. And gosh, all of a sudden, I started making a sale, getting a sale. I was almost totally out of money. So I'm close to being totally broke, not wanting to carry steel anymore, wanting to give up that and go into real estate.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I followed her and started saying and doing what she did. And all of a sudden, I realized I can do this. I can sell homes. And of course, I wasn't keeping the numbers and track of it. I just loved it. So my manager in November of that year calls me in. He says, Tom, I don't know if you know what you're doing, but I got to tell you. I said, I know what I'm doing. I'm having a blast, making a lot of money. I'm having fun. I'm achieving my goals, blah, 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 blah. He says, you are now averaging one home sold a day, which has never in the history of real estate been done.
Wow.
And it's November 15th. We have 45 days left for the year. If you can do 365 homes sold in a year, and we can put that in the paper and brag about you. And I think I was 23 years of age.
Wow.
And so I said, hey, let's do it. Well, sure enough, I turned in 365 home sales. He started putting me in the paper with a picture. And of course, I was 23-year-old kid.
Wow. Wow.
And of course, his headline was, if this kid at 23 can sell 365 homes, averaging one a day for a year, why can't you come
there
see
you go.
us?
Yes.
And he used me as the recruiting tool to get people to come to the company.
Yes.
And, then they start putting me in the paper, and I started doing. Then I spent 2 years going to companies teaching, and I didn't even charge them. Because I do feel I could not get on a stage and control huge audiences around the world unless I did a lot of it.
Wow.
So I spent 2 years doing these talks, and then they recorded them. We didn't have podcasts and stuff like this, but all of a sudden my phone started ringing off the hook, and I kept selling homes. But I started doing the speaking, and all of a sudden, my phone went crazy. Started every week flying somewhere, first in the country, U.S., And then all of a sudden, people in other countries said, Tom, you got to come and teach us what you say.
Yeah.
And that, of course, I think is the main thing that I was able to do, was teach people not just what to do, but what to say to people.
Yes.
How to handle objections.
Yes.
They say, we want to think it over. Here's what you say to them to take. I want to think it over, a stall into a final objection, overcome that, get the check, make the sale.
Yes.
And of course, I think 90% of the reason my books, and by the way, folks listening should know that because I'm retiring this year, this kind of time, Amazon has all my books and CDs, DVDs, and they've discounted them huge. Yeah. So anyone that likes what we're doing or likes what I do, if they go to Amazon and look up Tom Hopkins books, they can see all of what Amazon is offering. So that might be a nice way for them to get more, because we're going to have a quick 30 minutes, which will go just like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Tom, not only Amazon, but their division Audible, where you can download your audio programs, of which I've done, and I listen to you in the car on a frequent basis. So I never get tired of listening to you. You bring so much value, and you get better and better with each passing year, Mr. Hopkins. Okay, you're like a good vintage bottle of wine that just gets richer and more rare and tastes better with every. So come and drink of the wine of wisdom of Tom Hopkins. I'm going to be following you to the end. I mean, I began following you in mid 80s when I first read How to Master the Art of Selling. It completely changed my career and set me on a path that I am so grateful to you for. So grateful, because it's not just raw motivational. It's really instructional and detailed in terms of how to navigate through the sales process. And you do that so well, better than anybody else. And I like how you liken it to a doctor, a surgeon, or a professional tennis player. Could you tell us a little bit about that in terms of, because a lot of people get into sales, right? And say, well, I'll just wing it, and see what's going to happen. Yeah.
Well, first of all, any great achiever realizes they must master the fundamentals.
Yeah.
For example, we could talk basically football. There's two basic fundamentals: offense, defense. And any activity, golf, tennis, the pros know the fundamentals. And the people in sales and marketing realize that there are fundamentals of selling of any product or service. Basically 7: prospecting, handling objections, qualifying, overcoming objections, closing the sale. All these things a pro internalizes and masters. And that's one thing I've always tried to do, Phil, is not just give overviews, but say, hey, here's the basic fundamentals of selling a product, a service, yourself, getting people to go along with you, having and that's, I think, why I did so well in sales. I'm not, number one, I loved real estate as a product, and I loved helping people who come into my office and say, oh, yeah, we're thinking of renting a home. And I'd always smile and say, now let me ask you this: if I could hold a home here, in this hand that you could rent, or I could hold a home in here that you could own, if you could take either, which would you take? And they'd all go, we would love to own, but we don't have much money. And I'd always smile and say, so if money is the reason you can't own, and I can help with that, with creative financing, then your minds are open to own. Am I right? Mr. Hopkins, could you do that? If I can. Can we open our minds to owning? Oh, that's wonderful. Well, of course, I'd get them in the car, and 2 hours later, I've got a check. They've bought a property. I've made a nice commission, and they're happy. I'm happy. And
Yes.
that's really one of the keys in goal setting is everybody should be pleased, happy at the end of any transaction.
Yeah. Yes.
So, so I am better for the time we just spent, be it 10 minutes, a half hour, or a
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
If they feel they have been benefited, then Phil, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that has been my whole belief in goal setting and achieving.
Yeah.
Everybody must win, and then your life is a win.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And how you use words is so important, isn't it, Tom? People don't like to buy things, but they sure love to own things, right? And you're, yeah,
Well, I've always believed that, see, there's words that right away trigger selling, which turns people off.
yes,
So I would never say if you buy the home, it's when you own the property. I would never
yes,
say if I sold you this. I'd say if I got you involved in this wonderful opportunity, I would.
yes,
It's a good deal because many people go, I'm scared of deals. It's a wonderful transaction or opportunity.
yes, yes,
Tried to eliminate the negativity of selling words and make everything a positive, wonderful experience. To where at
yes,
the end of the transaction, everybody goes, we love what happened here.
yes,
And of course, I think the last year that I had all those 365 homes, most of them were referred to me by other
wow,
people.
wow, wow,
And I think you made it such nice comments in bringing me on that if you help others have a better life,
yes,
then you're doing the right thing and they'll never forget you for it.
oh, oh,
And oh gosh, I can't tell you the stories, but I've had people call me up and say, Tom, 8 years ago, you found us a home and we're thinking of moving. And can you tell us what to do best and who and this and that? And that doesn't happen
yeah,
unless you really are giving more than people expect. And that's been one of my goals in goal setting. Give people more than they expect, and they will do business with you not once, but for a lifetime. And that's when you've really been a goal setting achiever and a home run hitter.
yeah. It's really the principle of going the extra mile, isn't it? And
Really,
yeah, and what I noticed about you too is you love people. You have to love people, don't you? I mean,
oh yeah,
yeah, uh,
I I really believe that's one of the things that in my life that you know you can sure enjoy the income, you can enjoy the beautiful homes, the cars, the
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
but none of that is really as important as the relationship, the wonderful feeling you have of helping another person have a better
yes,
life. And of course, I think back, this is funny, but back in those days when I was selling all those homes, they were 20, $30,000.
yeah,
Today they're 4, 5, 600, $1 million. And many of the folks, they came in with no money and I helped them with financing, get into a property, and they will never ever forget me because
yeah,
most of their net worth for retirement
yeah.
would be the equity that I helped them get into back 40 years ago, 50 years ago.
Yeah, and you know the thing, people are sitting back and they're saying, "But that's Tom Hopkins. He's got talent. He's gifted. He's got lucky. That's Tom. That this can't happen to me, you know." But you have war stories that are absolutely hilarious. And you going back to being an iron worker and the pain that you went through, but also your first day of showing up to work, you showed up in a particular wardrobe. I think that's quite amusing. You want to share that with
Well,
us?
yeah, and one thing, estate companies really had kind of a dress code.
Yeah.
And I finally, I knocked on doors of real estate companies to try to get a company to hire me. And of course, I was 19, I think, when I was doing this, and they'd look at me. I didn't have a car. I'd drive my motorcycle up to the real estate company, and I'd walk in, and they'd look at me at 19. And back then, the average realtor would have been primarily a male, and I don't mean to be sexist, but that was back when there weren't a lot of women in real estate back then.
Yeah.
They'd be an average 30, 40-year-old man. And here I was 19. And of course, not having a car, to have people follow me as I drove my motorcycle properties was not an easy thing. And luckily, thank God, I finally made enough money.
Yeah.
I think I paid $200 for my first car.
Yeah.
Back then, but at least it was a car that I could get people in.
Yes.
And not follow me on the motorcycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but it was an exciting time because I loved what I was doing. I worked 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Normally the first one in the office and last one possibly most nights to get home. But I think that's what happens to a goal achiever that loves what they do.
Yes.
The time goes like this, the moments fly by because you're having fun. And I've tried to teach this, that love people, have fun in the business you're in.
Yes.
And I think life is too short to not enjoy and have fun with what you do, which I think was one of the keys. Now, of course, in my life today, there's nothing more wonderful than to be graciously introduced on a stage, have thousands of people sitting there in awe. In fact, it's funny. I many years ago, I'm going to say 10 or 15, I had a seminar in Miami, Florida, and the promoter goes, "Yeah, there's this young guy named Tony Robbins who is really successful in what he's starting to build. And he's in the very back of the room."
Yeah.
Well, of course, I walked on the stage. I think I had 500-600 folks there. And I'm walking around looking, and I see this guy in the last row. And at first, I thought he was still standing, but he wasn't. He was sitting. About 6'8", and I'm 5'7". So anyway, I walked out on the stage and I met him. He and I have traveled around the world, literally doing programs. But it's been a highlight to be on the stage with people like him, Norman Vincent Peale, Og Mandino, J. Douglas Edwards. And that's a funny story. You mentioned him, but back in my early years as a new salesperson, there was only one real how-to trainer that taught us what to say, what to do, and it was J. Douglas Edwards. Well, of course, I had gone and watched him, listened to him, wrote all the things he said to say, and fell in love with this man as a trainer.
Yes.
And here I decided it was time. After 8 years of selling real estate, I said, okay, I'm going to go into nothing but training. And a man in Phoenix owned this real estate school and said, come over here, and I'd like to have you consider buying or investing in my school. And sure enough, I moved to Phoenix and I bought a home. Now, keep in mind, I knew that the J. Douglas Edwards lived in Scottsdale or Phoenix, had no idea where.
Okay.
But I buy this home much more than I thought I could afford, but I did it. And the day I move in, They're unloading the furniture as I move into this home I just purchased, and suddenly I hear this voice in my garage. Is Tom Hopkins here? And I turn around, and there in my garage is J. Douglas Edwards.
Wow.
I had no idea where he lived, and I bought a home next door.
Really?
And of course,
Wow.
I know these are the type of what I call events, moments, things that happen.
Yeah.
You can't explain, you can't say why,
Yes.
but you're the man that changed my life in selling and marketing. I bought a home right next door too.
Unbelievable.
I became like a son to him, where I
Yes.
would go and sit at his feet, where he would
Yeah.
teach me not only how to perform on the stage and how to control an audience and how
Yeah.
to speak,
Yeah.
but gave me the ideas on goal setting, on things that changed my life. And here's an example of how I think, in a way, God works in your life if your attitude is right, if you're excited about what you do, if you exude enthusiasm and motivation to what you do, right things happen to you.
Yeah.
But there's an example of how life can happen. And of course, I spent years at his feet as he taught me to go out into the field of training and doing seminars, which of course, I've been, as you mentioned, over 5 million folks have come to see me,
Wow.
which is kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, unbelievable.
Yeah.
5 million people. That's a major city. That's like the size of Philadelphia. Imagine every person,
Yeah.
in Philadelphia having sat under your teaching. Maybe I'm off on the
And it's
five.
been
Yeah.
fab. It's
The,
fab.
Unbelievable. Well, Tom, the time has flown by. I cannot believe how quickly this time has gone by. We've gone over. I lost track of time.
Well, let me say that's a good thing. When time flies, you're having fun, and if you're
You're,
having fun, you're doing the right thing. And Phil, congratulations on all your wonderful success and achievements, and the fact that you share so much to those that are looking for answers. And as a goal achiever, I just have to say that find out where you're going and
yeah,
make sure you get there and treat everybody the way you'd like to be treated. Love your business, love people, use the money you're blessed with, but keep the love affair with people. And if you do that, you'll always continue to be a goal achiever.
there you go. Uh, I can't add to that. I can't add to that. That's it right there. That's a great place to land. Tom, thank you so much for what you do. Encourage everybody to go to Amazon, check out Tom's material. It will be one of the best investments you make. God bless you. Have a happy 2024. And thank you so much for all that you're doing to build up humanity.
Well, my pleasure, Phil. And all of you that have been watching us, just keep going and growing and make a better life for more of the folks that you meet. All the best, Phil. Thanks
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you, Tom. Until soon. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Goal Achievers podcast with professional speaking agent Phil R. Taylor. For free access to all Phil's resources and interviews, please visit myspeakersource.com. Or if you are an event or meeting planner and would like more information on how we can equip you with the perfect speakers to make your event a huge success, please email us at speakers@myspeakersource.com or give us a call at 407-900-2427. This has been a My Speaker Source production. On behalf of Phil R. Taylor and the entire team, we wish you a blessed day as you pursue the achievement of your dreams and goals.
There's a reason for the sunshine sky. There's a reason why I'm feeling so high. Must be the season when that love light shines all around us. So let that feeling grab you deep inside, send you reeling where your love can't hide, and then go stealing through the moonlit nights with your lover. Just let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show.